everyone, it's Amy, and I am just here for Build Your Stash and Craft Week 6. So this week we are making the accordion envelope file folders, and I'm going to make mine with 5 envelopes. Now I've already got a little paint on my envelopes because I had to make some more washi tape for my envelopes because I used all my other washi tape on my storage box. So I have this calendar. It's just last year's used calendar. And I think that this is what I want to make my cover out of. So I am going to just use the glue sticks and glue this just to a piece of the paper that I originally bought. And just to make it a little bit sturdier. And that way, also the back of it will be white instead of having the calendar on it. Now, it doesn't, wait a minute, I'm going to move that out of my way for a second. We're going to cut around the edges of the white paper and just have the calendar page left. And by doing that, I am going to have to cut my envelopes down a little bit because my calendar is not as wide as my envelopes are. But that's okay because I really like this picture. And so that's what I wanted to have for my cover. Now, you could just use your paper. But even this white paper in itself, hold on just a minute. Even the white paper, here's the white paper, is not quite as wide as my envelope. So I would still have to cut a little bit off my envelope. So I'm going to trim around these flowers and then just trim a little bit more off of my paper. So I need to go in here and get some more glue where I didn't get enough. Give that a really good press. I think I'm going to peel this one back just a little bit and put some more on this side too. Probably should have done just a little bit and put the paper on it and then kind of did it this way. Held the paper back, put on some more, held the paper back and put on some more, so that it didn't dry out at all, and so I could see that I was actually getting the whole spot. Okay, now we've got a little bit of crinkling going on here, and if that really bothers you, you can put it underneath a couple of books and let it sit till it dries. That will really help. And whenever you're holding something down with books, or like if I have something small like an index card, I'll stick it inside my big dictionary. Always take a piece of your parchment paper and then fold it in half. Put whatever you're going to dry or to try and flatten inside the parchment, fold it over, and then close the book so that whatever you've put in there is completely covered with the parchment. That way it's not going to ruin your book, but it's also not your book pages aren't going to stick to your project, and it will ruin your project. So I have a couple of great big old dictionaries that are really heavy, and I use those. Those are basically my flattening dictionaries. Papa will come over and he'll see them on the table and he'll go, "Oh, you're trying to flatten something out, huh?" Sometimes, actually I have 3 of them. It's a set of 2, and then somehow I also have a third one, which is the same as the first one. So I have like 2A through something and 1 something through Z. But I'll set something on the table and then put the books on top of them. If it's too big to fit inside my books, I'll just put my books right next to each other. But he always knows, if he sees those dictionaries, he knows that there's something inside or something underneath that's being squished. Or flattened, I guess I should say. And they work really well. And also letting things dry overnight is something that you really really should do on different things, especially if you really want them to stay together well. Okay, so now this is long enough for me to put my envelope in here, and it will be this way and this way, and it will still have a flap. That's how much area that you need. So, but what I'm going to need to do is cut my envelopes down. I'm going to squish this back out again. Okay. I'm going to just take one of my envelopes, and I've already sealed my envelopes. They just have the peel-off sticky stuff. I probably should have sealed them with my glue, though. I'm going to hold this on my page, and then all I'm going to do, let me just move it up a little bit so that I can see. I'm going to leave a little bit where I can see a little bit of an edge of my paper there, and then I am going to make sure it's kind of straight, and then I'm just going to come just inside the outside edge of my paper here. I'll just take my ruler, make a line there, and cut it. And then I will just take my other 4 and cut them the same length. And we're going to put washi tape on both sides of these to make them stronger. So since we're doing that, I don't really need to do anything to this edge other than that. I think I can probably cut these all, cut the last 3 at the same time. Just make sure they're lined up well. Make sure you hold tight so that they don't slip. And there we go. There's all 5 of our envelopes. Now all we need to do is put a little bit of paint on the edges all the way around, because the edges will actually just at the top and at the sides, because those edges are going to show. And I'm just going to mix some of my white and some of my red to make pink, and use a makeup sponge to, trying to find some cardboard here, and then use a makeup sponge to put it on. This might be a little bit deep. Okay, and this is just what I used earlier to I mixed the red and the white to make my washi tape. So even if this is not the same color, which I don't think I would want it to be exactly the same color as my washi tape, but because we're mixing exactly the same white and exactly the same red, you're going to have the same hue of paint, or, you know, it's going to be a matching color. So as a matter of fact, when I did my washi tape, I mixed up some that was a little darker like this, and then I added a little bit more white to make it lighter, so that I actually had 2 tones. And you can't see it really well, but it's there, and it does make a difference. It gives your project depth. So now I just have to find my makeup sponges. Here they are. This is just a really nice way to be able to get paint on things. And I am going to make this the folded part, the bottom. So I just need to go along the top. And these are going to be glued together. So you just have to go across the top. You don't need to go and I'm going to, well, actually, we don't even really need it down the edges, because we're going to cover that with washi tape. If you're not going to cover it with washi tape, then you'll need to go down both edges here, like this. But if you're going to use your washi tape on there, which will make it stronger, then you don't even need to go down those edges, because they will be covered with your washi tape. But I guess it can't hurt to go down there, because, yeah, let's go down there just a little bit, because what that's going to do is, oops, if your washi tape only comes this far and you open up your envelope that far, you won't see white in there. So the top and both edges. Now the bottom's going to be inside your cover, so you don't have to worry about that. And remember that the flap that you folded in, that's your bottom. And I'm possibly going to have to make some more paint. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see, top and both sides, top and both sides, okay. And the reason that we're doing this is because we're not going to quite glue it all together. You may possibly see some of this, so that's why you're putting the paint on here. Okay, so I've just got one more to go. And what I'm going to do is I am going to give these a chance to dry. And then I'll come back and we'll put this together. Let's see, I need to go to here. We'll put this all together, or at least do the next step. So just go ahead and get your edges and your tops all done, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that our paint has dried, what we need to do is just put washi tape on each end of our envelope. And I just kind of eyeball about halfway. If you want it to be exact, you can put a little mark on your tape so that you know exactly where the halfway point is. And it's actually usually easier to figure your halfway point if you put your tape down sticky side up and then go ahead and set your envelope on it, because then you can actually see where the envelope is falling. Then just trim off the excess. What I was talking about is put your tape down that way and then just kind of eyeball halfway like that. I'm going to cut this piece off so that I can save that little bit. Fold it in half, and now both ends are sealed nice and tight, and they look pretty, and it gives them a little bit of strength for when you're going through it. Now on our envelope, we've got the side with the flap on it. That's going to be our bottom. Our top is the side that was painted. Get that piece of tape off of there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to trim off just the skinniest little sliver off the top to open that up, because that was actually the bottom of our envelope, so it was sealed. So now we have this. Alrighty, and then to put them all together, I've already done the first 4 because I figured you didn't want to watch me do this over and over, but we're going to go across the top just about to your washi tape, maybe not quite that far. You want to stay about maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch away from every edge except for the top. The top, you'll put your glue. So just put your glue on the whole thing from the top, almost to the edge, almost to the bottom, and almost to the edge. And then we're just going to line these up. Make sure that you've got your top at the top. Just kind of line that up. And once you get it lined up, just give it a press. And there we go. Now we've got our washi on our sides. It looks pretty, and it also makes it solid on those edges. And this is what it looks like. Now what we're also going to do is, because you're going to flip through it like this, we're going to take a piece of washi tape where the 2 envelopes come together, and we are going to put, let's see, I cut one here. Approximately, I just did about 3 inches. It doesn't, there is no right or wrong. And again, I just kind of eyeball it. The first one, I just eyeballed about where center was and stuck it on there, and then the rest of them I just lined up with the one behind it. So just put it on there halfway and then fold it over. Now that's grabbing both envelopes, plus it's making a nice sturdy spot there. Now if you want to put one on the front and the back, they are going to be attached to the cover, so you don't have to. But if you want to do that for looks, maybe I'm going to... Okay, I was just saying that you can add a piece of the washi tape to the front and the back, but you don't have to, because that's going to be attached to your cover. So, and then what did I do with my cover? Well, oh, it's right here in front of me. My mom would say, I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. Okay, so what we need to do then is we're going to do the front first, and we'll attach that right at the level with the top of our envelopes. And so we're going to, in this one, I'm going to glue all the way to all the edges. All the way to the bottom, all the way to the top, and this is for the front. Get that on there good. And then I'm also going to put it on here, because a lot of times if you put glue, especially things like stick glue or any kind of dry glue, if you put it on both sides, it seems to stick better. Plus, if you missed a spot on one, hopefully the other one has glue in that spot, and so it will attach everywhere. Alrighty, and I'm just going to line this up as best I can, right to the top, and then just press that down. There we go. And now we have our front attached. And we're going to wrap it around. Okay, now the one thing that I'm going to do, instead of making it tight at the bottom, I'm actually going to just move it up just a little bit. Like that. And what that's going to do is when we glue this together, it's going to leave this gap at the bottom. Can you see that? Okay, and what that's going to do is when you put stuff in here and it starts to expand like this, that little bit of a gap is going to give you room to expand. So if you wrap it up tight like this, it won't be able to expand any more than that. So that's what we're going to do. And what I kind of did was, because this is a calendar, I can actually see the line of the first day of the month. And so if I pull it up there, I'm pulling it up probably, that is about a half an inch. So what you could do is just put a mark on your paper about a half an inch up, and that's where you're going to put your glue. And on the back, we're going to glue the sides, but we don't want to go all the way to the bottom on the back. Not even because of that half an inch, but we don't want to go to the bottom on here either. That will give that a little bit of room to expand and let the accordion open up. So on this one, we're going to stay up about a half an inch. Go all the way to the top. And I went all the way to the sides. Is that going to make a difference? I think that should be okay, but I don't want it down here. Alrighty, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with that line. And give that a press. Okay, so there we go, and now we've got that bit extra, and what you can do is you can go in there and give it a little bit of a fold right here along the front envelope, and then go put your hand in the back envelope and give it a little bit of a fold right there where that envelope is. And then you'll kind of have a little bit of like a flat bottom. And I don't want to like totally crease it heavily. I just kind of want it to, but so now your bottom looks like that. You push on the table a little bit, and there we go. Now we're just going to fold the flap over. You can leave it straight. You can round the corners if you want to. And I'll be right back with putting the button on for the attachment. Okay, final step is attaching our button. So what I've done is I've drawn around the button and put a little mark where the holes are. And now I'm going to cut a little ways inside the line, like about an eighth of an inch, because I want this to be smaller than the button, but I want to make sure that I avoid those holes by probably at least 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to just get out of there. Okay, basically what we're going to do is just make a smaller button. Now we're going to really quickly just trace around this one so that we have 2 thicknesses, and this is going to lift our button up off of our accordion file folder to make it so, and this one I'm going to cut right on the line, to make it so that our string can easily go behind the button. And this is just off of a cereal box, this cardboard. But we just don't want our button tight up against. And just kind of line those up. And then just take your pen and put a really good dent in there. And then you can, well, I don't think we're going to poke a hole with our scissors. I think we're going to need to poke a hole with our X-Acto knife. So what we're going to do is poke a hole in that. I'll be right back. Okay, so very carefully, you're going to want to poke a hole in that with your X-Acto knife. Because it's 2 layers of chipboard, just kind of turn it around and around and around, keeping your finger away from the blade. And once it pokes through, then you can stick your pen through there and make that hole bigger. Be very, very careful. Okay, now I'm going to go to the other side where it kind of poked through. I'm going to put the point in there and go around a little bit like that. Very, very carefully, making sure that my finger is not underneath there. Then I can take my hole, or take my pen, and make that hole look more like a hole. Because we definitely need a big enough hole to get our string through. There we go. And this is getting all bent up a little bit. That's okay, that doesn't make any difference. So it's going to be underneath our button. We're not going to see it. We just need to have it there. It's just a mechanics of the thing, just to keep everything off of the button. Okay, now, when I had my paint out before I put my paint away, I took my little makeup sponge and just kind of folded it around the string and just pulled it through. So I've got some pink and some of the natural color. I like that. If you want it all pink, then you can just put a little more paint on it. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of masking tape, and I'm going to fold it in half, tight right across that, so that you've got the string right at the fold. And then come to the back, start away out from the string, and cut right up to a sharp point. So this is what you have. Now that will be your needle to put your thread through your button and through, whoops, go through the button and go through the cardboard. And then the other thing that I did not do is put a hole in here. So I'm going to just grab another button since I have that half threaded. I did measure, it's 4 inches to the center, so I just put a mark there because that's going to be covered up anyways. And I'm just going to put a couple of marks here where my holes are going to be. Poke a hole in there. And poke a hole in the other side too. Kind of round them out a little bit. And if you wanted to, you could cut a neater piece of cardboard, put 2 holes in it just like we did for the other, and put it on the back side. That would make it even stronger. So, but then we'll go through our hole here, come back up, go through our cardboard, go through our button. It's getting a little bit messed up. I'm going to just trim that point a little bit more. And there we go. Now we have our button on the top, and what we're going to want to do is make our thread short one way and just tie a knot so that we have a long enough piece of string to go all the way around our file folder. Now you can tie, I always tie a knot, but if you want to tie a bow on top of that so that you've got a pretty little bow, you can always do that. And put a little touch of glue on the center of that bow so that it stays very solid, and then your string won't pull it out. But I like it just with the end sticking out. And then I'm going to cut a little bit of that off. And I will probably on purpose fray that because I like the frayed look. Then I'm going to take my string, wrap it around my file folder. Let's go downwards. Wrap it around the file folder, and then all we do when we get up here is just wrap it around the button. Okay? Or let me see. How do I usually do that? Come up. I don't remember how I do that. Well, anyways, up or down, wrap it around the button, and I don't like how long this is, but there we go. And then you're going to want to have some extra string because you're going to want to wrap it twice, because of the way the string is over the button. If you put the string to go out from under the button, this wouldn't happen. But also, you want to have enough string left over so that when this expands, you've got some string left over. So if it were to be, let's stick something in there. Let's say if it was this big. Well, it's not going to get quite that big, but if it were, you could still have enough string to wrap your button around there. So since I know that's enough, I'm going to cut it right about there. And there we go. There's our finished file folder. And I hope that you like that. And you can just wrap this when it's super long. You can wrap it as many times as you want to if you don't like it hanging down like that, hanging way down. But just remember, keep enough so that as your file folder expands, that you've got enough to do that. I did see Doherty, if you've got some hair ties hanging around, I saw Miss Me Art make one, and she used a elastic rubber band around it, and that would work really great too. So, but there's our finished file folder. And just to show you, remember we cut our envelope off because our envelopes were too long. So I took those little bits and I made a little tiny one to hold little tiny things. And I just took another piece of my calendar and put it on there. So I am going to get the stuff together for what you're going to need next week, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back to show you what we're going to need for next week, except first I want to show you how to fix your envelope, because I was having a hard time as I was trying to wrap this, because I kept wrapping like over my thread, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? I figured it out. You sew your button on there and tie it nice and tight, and then cut your string off. Then you take your string and just tie it around the button. Just at one end. You want a long tail, but you just tie a really good tight knot. And And there we go. And then this tail, there we go. This tail we're going to cut off right underneath the button. There we go. Okay, now our long tail goes around our thing and wraps around the button just fine. So, and one other thing that I wanted to show you, because I used the pre-stick envelopes where you peel off and they already have sticky on them. Well, I found out that some of them, the sticky is actually coming out from underneath my flap. So it's sticky in there, and when I shut this up, it wants to stick. When I open it up like this right here, see that stuck? And that's where the sticky is that's supposed to shut my envelope, but part of it sticks out enough to touch the back of the envelope. What you do to fix that is just a little bit of baby powder and just sprinkle it in there, rub it back and forth where that is, and that baby powder takes that sticky away. And I had a couple of them that were like that. So if you have anything like that that's sticky, also if you, like the other day I was playing with some little tiles that I had that had a label on them, and I took the label off, but I couldn't get the sticky off, and they were wood, so I didn't want to put like Gooby Gone on them, so I just sprinkled them with there we go. Now none of them stick together. I couldn't put Gooby Gone on them, so I just went ahead and put a little bit of baby powder and just rubbed it back and forth where the sticky was, and that takes the sticky away. So for next week, what we are going to need is file folders. I got these 5-tab file folders. There's 5 in this envelope. And I got this at Walmart for 48 cents. So they also have one that looks a lot like this that's 88 cents. But if you look and get this one, you can get 2 for $1. Also, you can get them at the dollar store for $1. And I think they have 8 in them. But they're a little bit smaller and lighter plastic. So if you can get them at Walmart, you can get 10 for just under $1 versus 8 for $1. Then we are also going to need a cutting board. I also got this at Walmart for 88 cents. So that's $2. And then my other $3 I spent on apple barrel paint at Walmart. They have different types, but just the regular apple barrel is 50 cents. So I spent $3, and if you're able to go to Walmart and get your paints at Walmart, the paints that I bought originally on week 1 are getting very low, so I didn't want to run out of paints, and we'll need paints. We're going to be making stencils next week, and we're going to need some paints to use our stencils. So I just decided it's time to get some bigger bottles. And so if you enjoy the painty part of things, then go ahead and get your $2 worth of stuff here and pick $3 worth of any kind of paint or any color paints that you want. But if you get the regular apple barrel, you can get 6 of them. Otherwise, they have some that are like 88 cents, but then you'd only be able to get 3. So I do suggest, if you don't have a brown or a white or a black, try and get one of those. So my white is almost gone, so I got a white, and I got a brown because brown is one of my favorite colors, and I didn't have any browns in my pack from the Dollar Tree. I did have white and black. My white's almost gone, but I do have a lot of black left, so I didn't bother to get a black. I got some other colors that I thought that I would like. So that's what we need for next week. We need paint, and we need a cutting board, and okay, sorry, my phone cut off. And we're going to need our index dividers. I said like file folders, but they're not folders. They're just like one sheet of plastic with a little tab on the end. So that's what we need, is the index dividers. And then from our previous things, we are going to need our sponges from last week, our razor knife, our black Sharpie, our scissors, and if you can get your hands on a cereal box or some other box that's about that size, that's what we're going to need for next week. So I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.